We're about to introduce our keynote. So for our keynote, many of you probably know this incredible lady, and she probably doesn't need an introduction, but it's such a great introduction and CV. I'm going to read it out anyway, Wanda. So Wanda Hayes is a self-confessed career development tragic. She started her career as a secondary teacher in both state and independent secondary schools. She then joined Education Queensland's guidance training program, and that's where she really got hooked on career development. She worked as a guidance counsellor in state primary and secondary schools, as well as a career development specialist in independent schools. She's really been across all of the different school sectors. And then she's also held roles both in universities and in corporate HR, so she's seen all sides. On top of that, she's also owned her own successful consulting business for almost 20 years. I'm not sure where she's found the time to do all this. Somehow in that time, she was also the National President for the Career Development Association Australia, the CDAA, for 4 years. She's now back in a school-based role since 2016, and from 2019, we were really lucky enough to nab her here on the Sunshine Coast in her current role at Sunshine Coast Grammar. Here tonight to deliver her keynote for us, Taking on the Future One Step at a Time, please welcome Wanda Hayes.
My hair doesn't look like that at all anymore, does it? How lucky are we to live on the Sunshine Coast, and I'd like to add my voice to the acknowledgement and gratitude towards the traditional owners and custodians of the land on which we all are privileged to live, work and play. I am a career practitioner by profession and a former teacher as well, and I'm really pleased that the committee invited one of us to speak. And I speak here tonight as one of us. So I'm a colleague, and everything I know now, yeah, I've been around a bit, but everything I know, I learned from the people that I worked with, the young people and the adults that I worked with and the colleagues. And so I'm sharing with you what I've learned from all of that experience. It's a bit of a shift in gear. It was really exciting to see all those stats, and it's so encouraging to know what amazing opportunities there are for our young people here on the coast. I might stop calling them young people and call them kids. Is that okay? It's just a bit quicker. I won't stumble over it. No one will be offended. Well, I'll just call them kids. Okay. All right. So no matter who I've been working with, state schools, independent schools, regional schools, city schools, kids, adults, there's a refrain that career practitioners always hear, and it goes like this: how can I choose what to do when I don't know what I want to do? It's a real conundrum, and it's constant. Not all students struggle as much as others, but I hope you agree it is a common refrain that we encounter. So I'm going to talk to you this evening about a paradox that sits behind that dilemma. I'm going to talk to you about a challenge that is available for us in terms of supporting the students that we're hoping to inspire to make clever decisions, given where we live and given what the opportunities are. And finally, I'm going to talk about the opportunity to shape a different mindset amongst the people that we work with. So let's start with the paradox. Here's the thing. So kids know that the decisions that they make at school are important. They get told often enough, so they know it's important, and they know that those decisions and choices require some careful thinking and preparation. And they want a decision, but mostly they don't want to make it. So what happens instead, sometimes, often, when they're asked to make those decisions, is this: the four-letter F word. Sorry, that's the one you were thinking about, wasn't it? Okay, so they're afraid. So in the interests of stating the blindingly obvious, kids sometimes avoid decision-making about the future, especially, because it's scary. And so here's what happens. There's a couple of things that I've observed. So the first is what I call occupation shopping. And one of the reasons that I think I'm here is because when Tracy called me, I talked about the danger of presenting lots of options because the kids just go, oh, I'll have one of those, like pin the tail on the career, you know. I won't think about it too much. That looks good. I heard about that. My friend's sister does it. That sounds good. So did you know, by the way, lots of you would know, I'm sure, that there's a stat that says something like 90% of kids focus on 1% of the total available jobs to them. So they focus on the most obvious ones. So they'll do this occupation shopping thing, not helpful. And the other thing that they'll do is to try to trick us adults into making the decision for them. I have a Year 12 student right now, bless her, she's adorable, but she actually has said to me on several occasions, Wanda, can't you just tell me what I should do? No, actually, Olivia, no, I can't, because I don't want to be responsible if you think it doesn't work for you later. Okay, so, but the problem is that they think what they're looking for is this. You know, this lovely, long, slightly undulating path with a light at the end, pure happiness. Everyone's career's like that, isn't it? We've all got careers like that. That's why we're here, aren't we? Everyone's career, it's lovely, almost straight, just slightly wavering path. So that's not what is real. What's real is more like this. Multiple decision points throughout your working life. Thinking, which should I do? It's more like that. And if they know that, that's scary too. So, we wade in and try to help. So, one of the things that we do is say, well, you know, if you know more about what's out there, you know, if you can get some work experience, know what's available around you, then that should help. That would help you. That would help you kind of find your thing, right? So, great. Except that's scary too, because that's just plain overwhelming if you're not prepared to consider the options properly. So, okay, so it's a problem with decision making, is it? Okay, so, all right, we'll teach them how to make decisions better. They know how to make decisions. What they don't know as well is who they are. And this is the most important part of our challenge, is to remember to focus on the person that we're working with or talking with. And I'm talking to everyone who's a parent in the room, as well as all the teachers and the career practitioners and the vet coordinators and the ILOs. Anyone who works with kids has conversations with them about the future. We all do it. It's my job to do it, but we all do it. And the most valuable thing that we can do in those conversations is help them develop better self-awareness. But of course, there's another paradox, because yuck, self-reflection, especially if it's about the future, I'm not interested. So, let's think about how to get around it. This is our challenge. So I'm going to suggest that the first thing that we need to do is address the fear. I used to work, when I had my consultancy, I used to work in outplacement. So that means that literally I would be in a room and people would be in the room next door being told that they've just lost their job. And then they'd say, that's okay, go next door. Wanda's next door. She's got a box of tissues. She'll look after you from here. So, and so when I did that work, the first part of my relationship with every one of those people was addressing that feeling of being gutted, of having the rug pulled out from underneath them, and trying to rebuild a sense of confidence and hope for the future. So I know that addressing the emotional stuff is important to do first, and this is what I do. And it was nice to hear in the video people talking about what's next, because this goes back, my use of this thing, what's next, goes back to when I was a guido at Proserpine High School in the early 90s. Yes, I am that old. And I'm in a room with, a cane farmer's wife and her son, and the mother is very, very eager and aspirational. Thank you. I said I'd get a dry mouth, and now I have. Talking to your peers is the worst. You know that, don't you? Anyway. So the mother was very aspirational for her son and didn't want him to be a cane farmer as well. And she was frustrated, and she said to me, "It's ridiculous. This is really important. It's his whole future. It's the rest of his life. And he won't even think about it. He won't even talk about it. And it's the rest of his life. I don't know what he's going to do." And I said, "Settle, Petal. It's not the rest of his life at all. He's not making a decision about the rest of his life. He's making a decision about next year." And I see lots of nods. So we all know that this is true. But sometimes the people that we work with don't. I have to say, especially the parents. So it's important that we get that message across. And it's usually received well. So when I first moved to the Sunshine Coast, I worked at a different school. I worked at another independent school, PLC. And in my first week there, I did all these parent nights. And I talked about this thing about, it's not a decision that's a long-term decision. You don't talk to a kid about what you're going to be doing in 10 years' time. That's more than half a lifetime for them. You can't do that. And it doesn't make sense to do it either, especially in light of the statistics that Tracy showed us. Because here's what actually happens. You take a step. Pretend I'm still there. And when you take that step, the view changes. The opportunities that you can see from where you are now are different from what you could see back there. So you might have thought that you knew what the second step would be when you took that first step, but when you get to the first step, you see something better. Isn't that what happens? Isn't that how we build our careers? One step at a time? So I spoke about this at the parent nights, and the principal thought it was so good, she stole it from me. So if you're not using it already, you can now. You can steal it too. I'm happy to share. Always happy to share with colleagues. All right, so once we start talking about that next step, my observation is that students do settle down. Literally, someone will say, "Yeah, Mum, it's just next year." So it really is. So you can tell I work with teenagers, actually. So it settles them down. It's not a big deal. We're just talking about what you're going to do first when you finish school. What are you going to do first? And yeah, sure, think about where that might lead. And I will say, parents and sometimes other people get a bit anxious and say, "But what if they make a wrong step?" Do you know what? They can't make a wrong step if they reflect properly. Because even if they change direction, they'll use what they learned in that first step anyway. Yeah, so they can't make a wrong step. That's something else you have to tell them. So once we've got them dealt with the fear, we now have to look at how we raise their self-awareness. Now, there are quizzes and there are programs you can pay for, but you know what? The very best way to do this is in conversation with them. So most of those instruments will tell them what they kind of already knew or what they hoped was the case. because it influences their answers. So we start with where they are. We start with where they are and we talk with them. And this doesn't have to be a long conversation, and it doesn't have to happen all at once, and it doesn't have to be all the same person. There are lots of questions we can ask them that start from where they are now, not where they want to be. Where are you now? So, oh, that hasn't turned out very well. That question says, when are you at your best? You can ask them, what are your best subjects and why do you like them? That's a really easy question for students to answer in the first case. But beyond that, when are you at your best? When are you at your best at school? When are you at your best at home? When are you at your best in your sport or in your other activities that you engage in? When are you at your best and why? What is it about you that really thrives on that thing? What are the things that you're most likely to question and challenge and explore? Parents often tell me that their kids are very good at arguing, so what do you like to argue about? What are the things that you actually have a view on? What are the things that you're looking to learn more about? Why? What is it about those things? When are you most switched on? When do you get excited about stuff? What stuff do you get excited about? Why is it exciting to you? What are you curious about? What intrigues you? What do you often wonder about? What do you research for hours on the net in the middle of the night when you're not gaming? And by the way, a lot of them will say they're at their best when they're gaming, so I know that that's the case too. So, but again, it's digging deeper. So, when do you experience flow? Now, they might not get flow, but if you ask them, what are the things that you do that literally when you're doing those things, you lose track of time? Everyone has at least one of them, where you do something and you just lose track of time because you're so absorbed by it, so engrossed in it, so engaged with it, that time just flies. And mum calls and says, get in here, it's dinner time, whatever. So when are those things? And finally, what matters most to you? What matters most to you? This is a very personal question. What matters most to you? What do you value? What do you treasure? Why? What is it about those things? And every time you ask these kinds of questions, and there are more, I bet you are sitting there thinking about the ones that you ask as well. So we all ask questions like this. I encourage you to dig deeper every time you ask these questions. Just get right in underneath that and get them going underneath it. Because what you're doing when you ask these questions is that you're being a mirror for them. They're not looking in the mirror, you're the mirror. And I know this, and it's my great privilege to have had this experience. I changed schools mid-year in 2023. What a lousy thing to do to the kids, hey? I'm sorry, I do feel very bad about it, and I've got someone from my old school here and some people from my new school. So, you know, I'm owning it. I felt really bad leaving school in the middle of the year and going to a different school. But I did get feedback at the school that I was leaving, and lots of teachers told me that lots of the kids said, she can't go, she knows us. She knows us. What are we going to do? We can't do this without her. She knows us. Yeah, I knew who they were, but I never knew them like they knew themselves. All I did was I was their mirror. I was their mirror, that's all. They actually did really well without me there because we'd already explored all this stuff and they already knew who they were, and off they went. So I encourage you to think about how you are that mirror for your students. What I try to do is turn whatever floats your boat into a question too. What floats your boat? And I'm going to come back to that at the end. So that's a really big question. What floats your boat? What gives you a sense of purpose? What gives you a sense of success? What makes you happy? Okay, so let's take that now and weave it into a different mindset. So I'm going to tell you that when I talk about this stuff with kids, I don't talk about choosing and I don't talk about decisions. I talk about writing stories and crafting and building. It's a much nicer mindset to encourage in the students. It's not a choice, it's not a decision, it's an act of craft and creation. You're creating your story, you're creating your future, yourself. And this is kind of my trademark. I've been using this exact image for about 15 years now. And it's because of this notion of thinking about crafting rather than choosing. So when I was working with adults, I often had people who were very much keen to explore themselves and reflect. They loved that stuff. Oh yeah, let me at it. Yes, I had people saying, I've never spent an hour just talking about myself. That was great. So adults love that stuff, and you know they've got plenty of stories to tell that they're building on. So they get that notion of building. But they get stuck. So here's what used to happen. Wanda, I'm an accountant. I did an accounting degree, and every job I've ever held is an accounting job, and I hate it. What am I supposed to do? I'm an accountant, that's it. So as I worked with those kinds of questions, and I work with them all the time, I started to think about what that meant for them. And I said, how about you think about yourself not as an accountant person, but as a Lego accountant? So you've got a Lego set and you've made an accountant with it, right? So if you've made your Lego accountant, you can take it apart too. So every block in that Lego set is a skill, a qualification, an experience you've had, a contact you've had, a bit of knowledge that you've acquired, a general capability. Every block is something that you've accumulated over your working life. And we can look at it, and some of it, you look at it and say, I never want to see that block again. Fine, it's gone. But we can think about what other blocks you might need to build something different with what's left after you turf the stuff you don't like anymore. And that's how this Lego thing became part of my MO. So when I moved back into schools, I thought, can I use the Lego thing? And then I realised, absolutely, because these guys are building now. They're building now. They're accumulating now. And do you know what? Most of them don't even know they're doing it. Most of them don't know that they're accumulating skills and knowledge and experiences that will travel with them throughout their working lives, even while they're at school. So when I speak to the year 10s and 11s and 12s, every year, at the start of the year, they get really bored with it by the time they get to year 12, but I don't care. I talk about them being intentional collectors of Lego, intentional collectors of bricks, skills, knowledge, attitudes, personal qualities that they're developing in the classroom, outside the classroom, at home, in their part-time job. The whole time they're collecting stuff that they can use to build things later on. And when you combine that with this notion of the next step, it seems more achievable. I'm building, I'm collecting. Now, what can I do with this next? Don't want that anymore. Pick up this. What can I do with this next? And if I think of it in the context of what we heard already this evening, I think, you know, there are so many opportunities and a lot of students, and I'll own it, I'm at Sunshine Coast Grammar, you know, like 90% of our parents want our kids to go to university, whether it's the right thing for them or not. And that's the truth of it. So But I can use approaches like this to encourage people, especially if we know what's available in this local area, to say, maybe your Lego set's not quite ready to go to university. Lots of students don't know exactly what they want to do while they're still in Year 12. So maybe your Lego set's not quite ready. Where could you go locally that would be not so disruptive and get some skills and experience that you can build into your set and carry on, and then maybe go on to further education later on? So that I can have those kinds of conversations with them, where the next step mightn't be the most obvious one. So, I knew I wouldn't take the whole 45 minutes. So, I want to encourage you this evening. I want to encourage you to be the mirror, to help the young people, the kids that you work with, develop a habit of self-reflection and develop a habit of understanding and digging deeper into what turns them on, what floats their boat. So, and then, you know what? If they come to me then and they've got their Lego set, they've got worked out what they've accumulated, they know what floats their boat, I'm happy to talk with them about where to float it next. Okay? So that's my new mantra for this year. Work out what floats your boat, and then we'll talk about where you can float it. That's what I've been saying to the kids all year. And all of that is just about one step at a time. And of course, at the end of all of this, it's actually like it's not about meeting expectations and statistics and stuff that schools get absorbed in. It's about this. And I say to students, especially the young ones, do people ask you what you're going to be, what you want to be when you get older? And they say, yeah. I said, it's terrible, isn't it? It's dreadful. Yeah. I said, so next time someone asks you, just say happy. Watch their faces. Thank you, everyone. Oh, does anyone have any questions or comments? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Wanda. There's some really great stuff in that, as always, when we chat to you. But really pulled out that idea that 90% of kids focus on 1% of jobs. And we know we actually have a mindset change that we need to do here in the Sunshine Coast. We have been traditionally seen as where you go to have a good surf and get a good trade and hang out. But we actually have so much more than that. And that really speaks to that statistic. And I really like that idea of you can't make a wrong step. And with the students tomorrow, it's really exciting that we get to expose them to just the breadth of opportunity that's on the Sunshine Coast. And we have 8 amazing industry pods that represent our high value and emerging economies and industries right across from Noosa right down to Sunshine Coast. And for them to be able to actually see that and get a taste of what that could mean is really exciting. So thank you so much, Wanda, for setting the scene for us and really showing the other side so that we can help bring all of this together as one big group. And it works really well in segueing into our next area, which is really talking to our pathway providers. And we're super lucky here to have 2 learning powerhouses in our own university, at the University of Sunshine Coast, and to have such a big presence here through TAFE Queensland as well. So for the first of our speakers, I'd like to welcome up onto the stage Jodie Russell, who is the Regional Engagement Coordinator for the University of the Sunshine Coast.
Thanks, Tracy, for that introduction. I must say, firstly, if there's anyone floating around from TAFE, I'm a vegetarian, and I think sometimes when I say I'm going over to somebody's place and I'm a vegetarian, it's always a little bit of a hustle. You know, what do we feed them? But my meal was delicious, so thank you very much. So as Tracy said, I am Jodie. I am the Regional Engagement Coordinator for University of the Sunshine Coast. So I'm based at the Sippy Downs campus. I look after the Southern Sunshine Coast schools and recognise a lot of faces in the room tonight. I have been joined by a new colleague last week, Charlie Hallett. So I think a few of you have heard from Charlie. He looks after the Northern Sunshine Coast schools. So really happy to be here tonight and to be talking about pathways. I too would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands, the Gubbi Gubbi people, and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. So just to start off with just a little snippet of UniSC and a snapshot of our preferences, QTAC first preferences for this year. So UniSC received 2,075 first preferences in semester 1 of this year. So compared to semester 1 of last year, that does represent a 14% or almost 15% in growth. So that growth, it's not actually attributed to any particular programs. We did start a new program this year, which was physiotherapy, but it didn't really, it cannibalised other similar programs where students were preferencing physiotherapy as opposed to clinical exercise physiology. So UniSC made 2,147 offers to school leavers, so that was a 5.5% increase. What we've really seen as compared to last year is students on the Sunshine Coast, more of them are preferencing UniSC first as opposed to, you know, second or third preference. So we've seen considerable growth in students preferencing UniSC first. And 1,464 early offer guarantee offers. So I'll talk a little bit about that soon when we're looking at pathways. So where do our students come from? It's probably not surprising. The Sunshine Coast campus is our flagship campus. So 43% of the students are on the Sunshine Coast, followed by Moreton Bay. So Moreton Bay had 2 new buildings added last year, and it is a region that's growing quite rapidly as well. So the greater Queensland region, that's mainly Bundaberg and also Toowoomba. So when we're talking about jobs and getting our students work ready, I just wanted to touch on our work integrated learning, and I'm sure this is messaging, you know, when you hear us come out into your schools and we're talking to students, we are talking about work integrated learning. So with most of the courses at UniSC, there is some type of work integrated learning, so whether it be a placement, a particular project, a clinical placement. So it's really important that students are getting that hands-on experience so they can hit the ground running when they're out in the workplace. So as a uni and as a whole, we are constantly connecting with industry to see what's changing so that the programs are up to date and to make sure that students are working with equipment that they would find in the real world. 91% of students that completed an undergraduate program had a job within 4 months of completing their program, and 95% of postgraduate students were employed 4 months after completing their program. So particularly with the postgraduate students, that data is really reflective of the flexibility at UniSC in terms of that blended learning model where, you know, students are on campus for a certain amount of time, but then, you know, they're doing a lot of their learning at home. I know my partner, he's a project manager for the Sunshine Coast Council, and he's doing his Masters in Business Administration. So he's on the laptop every Thursday night doing his 2-hour tutorial, but it's great to see him advancing his career in a way that he can still stay in employment and complete that postgraduate study. The state-of-the-art facilities, probably best to talk about the pictures. So as well as the work integrated learning, it's really important that students are working in spaces that they would expect to see out in the workplace. So the top picture there, that's actually one of our nursing labs at the Sunshine Coast campus. So it really does mirror a hospital ward. So this is for our nursing students and midwifery students. And I can see Karen out in the audience from Kiwana that looks after industry engagement for, the Health Hub students. So it's great to get those students in onto campus and seeing those facilities. The one underneath that is the paramedicine lab. So it's an ambulance. It's a replica of an ambulance. So basically students are trained in those emergency situations with that same type of equipment. And then underneath that we have the moot court, which is a replica of the Caloundra Magistrates Court. So our law students are often in there to do some of their learning. So other spaces is the engineering spaces. We also have a fantastic music studio and the theatre production space and a lab maker space where there's 3D printing for our creative industry students. So just a snapshot of our programs. Our program guide is organised into these sections because generally when we're talking to students, we are interested in, what's your passion, what's your area of interest. So it's divided into these areas, So for example, creative industries, we can flick to that page and have a look at the types of programs that are associated with an interest in creative industries. It's probably good that example there from the study guide where it has the name of the program and obviously where what the ATAR selection rank is, what the prerequisites are. The Bachelor of Primary Education, we have seen a lot of growth in that program this year because last year they removed the science prerequisite, which has been really great. So a lot more students have selected that as their first preference. So we've removed a barrier by removing that science prerequisite. So how do I get to uni? What we really like to get across to students is that there is no wrong way to get to uni. So we saw a few stories earlier from people that are in industry, and we have ambassadors that reflect the stories of those people. So someone that has said, well, I didn't really like school. School wasn't for me. We've got, for example, the other day I was speaking with a student ambassador. He said that he didn't really like school, but he loved music. He was really quite good on the drums. And so he found out that he could do a Head Start course, a music course, and that's something that he was really passionate about. So that actually gave him a bit of drive and purpose for school. So we have ambassadors that reflect the stories of the many different pathways into uni. So I'm just going to quickly cover those. We're aware of, obviously, the ATAR pathway, but we also have Head Start. And apologies for those of you that are aware of, these pathways. I understand that you are connected with us and you're talking to students about them all the time. So I guess, if there's anyone else in the room that isn't aware of the pathways, it's great to be able to talk about them. So Head Start students can start a university subject while they're still in school. So depending on your school, they can start it in semester 2 of year 10, year 11 and year 12. They could effectively do 4 Head Start courses by the time they finished uni if they wanted to. They do receive QCE points and an adjustment to their ATAR or their selection rank. So each Head Start course they do, they get one extra point towards their selection rank or ATAR. The first course is free and it's $400 for each subsequent course. I think the great thing that I love about Head Start is, when we're talking about students and we assume a lot of the time, well, it's, you don't know what you want to do and that's fine, but what are your passions, what are your interests? Let's work on them. Why don't you do a Head Start course? Because obviously a school can't offer us all subjects. So Head Start is a great way to pick up on those interests and passions. It's also great for students that are like, well, I'm really interested in nursing, but I think I might also be interested in social work. So, they can do a Head Start course in one semester and then another Head Start course to find out more about themselves and what their interests are. So once a student has done 2 Head Start courses, that actually gives them a selection rank for entry into uni. So as an example, a student could do 2 Head Start courses, pass them, and that gives them a selection rank of 75, which gets them into most programs at UniSC. I'm sure a lot of you are aware, so you can also use a selection rank from a certificate level course to get into university. So as an example, many of the students on the Sunshine Coast, they might do their Cert 3 in allied health or community services, and they use that to get into nursing, for example. We have a student ambassador that did a Certificate 3 in hospitality at Maroochydore State High School, and they are now in their 3rd year of town planning, and they've been doing their placement at Sunshine Coast Council. So it doesn't have to be aligned in terms of what your certificate level course is. It's just a great pathway in. And then there's a tertiary prep pathway. So for those students that are in Year 12, and because, like we said, we don't expect them to have it all figured out, but they might get to the end of Year 12 and they've decided, I really would like to go to university. And they might be a student that just needs a little bit more support academically to get them ready for university. So this is a bridging program. So they do, if they were full-time, they would do 4 courses. It is available online. And it is free. And after they do 4 courses and pass them, that also gives them a selection rank, so then they could continue on into an undergraduate degree. It's also a great way if someone realises that they didn't meet a prerequisite, they can meet a prerequisite through doing the tertiary preparation pathway. Diplomas. So if a student doesn't want to quite commit to a bachelor's program, and I know that's part of the conversations that you'd be having with students, how much time are you willing to give to your study? The diploma is a great option. It is 1 year full-time, and a lot of those diplomas then would give them credit if they were to continue on and do a bachelor's. A good example of the diploma is the diploma in allied health. So students can do 1 year of the diploma in allied health and then enrol in a Bachelor of... oh, that's great, Jodie. You've just forgotten the name of the degree. Physiotherapy. So one year of completing and passing a diploma gives them the rank that's needed to do physiotherapy, and they do get some credit for that as well. Early offer guarantee. So that opens up on the 1st of August. This is for Year 12 students, so they can secure their place at university before they do their external examinations. They do apply through the school, and it's very much your process, as you're aware. So every school has a different process. Some schools, students might need to have an interview and sit down with the principal. So it really is up to the early offer guarantee coordinator and you knowing your student and who you think would succeed at university. But yeah, so essentially a student has locked in their place for university so that they can just focus on their exams. We've put this slide in here mainly because sometimes, when I have talked to schools, I understand that, there's some concern with early offer guarantee in terms of, or questions around how do these students fare when they, when in their first year of university. So our admission team, they do keep a close eye on early offer guarantee students. And in terms of their performance, the first table is just looking from 2021 to last year. When you're looking at an early offer guarantee student and a non-early offer guarantee student, so someone that's got in through an ATAR or a selection rank, this is the percentage of, the student passing and staying at university. So if you just look at 2024, 89% versus 79.2%. And the table underneath it is the GPA. So not a lot of difference, but I guess it just shows, the average GPA of an early offer guarantee compared to a non-early offer guarantee student is essentially the same. So just quickly, some access schemes that I wanted to talk to you about. The Indigenous Health Admissions Pathway. So this is for students that are Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students. This is a pathway, there are certain guidelines, but it's a pathway for them to enter those competitive programs that have a higher ATAR or selection rank, such as the medical science, midwifery and physiotherapy. So there is a link in there, and I'm happy to share the PowerPoint with anyone afterwards. And also the Regional Health Workforce Scheme, because of course, and especially with Tracy showing the growth, particularly in health, we do want to keep our students that are studying at UniSC on the Sunshine Coast. So there's actually a sub-quota that UniSC has for students that have lived either in the Sunshine Coast region, Noosa or the Gympie region. So students, when they apply to QTAC, they will get invited to apply for the regional health scheme, but also the rural health scheme. So that's just ensuring that our health graduates stay on the Sunshine Coast. So I've already introduced myself, and I've got Charlie's contact details up there. But it's lovely to see you all tonight, and thank you again, Tracy, for inviting us, and I'm happy to have a chat with anyone at the end. Thank you.
Thanks, Jodie, and we really love our connections with UniSC and TAFE and understanding the ways that they're really working with local industry to find those job pathways and really thinking about different ways that can suit all the different types of students that want to come in, whether they're fresh, new coming in, or they're mature age. It's really exciting to see that you can slice and dice things so many different ways. And it's a great segue also then into our next speaker, which is the lovely Ilana Boon from TAFE Queensland. She is our Director of Customer Experience for TAFE and will give us some really great overview of TAFE's standings with pathways. Thanks, Ilana.
I'm a bit like Wanda, my hair's changed a little bit. Hello everyone, welcome to TAFE Queensland. I too would also like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet tonight, and also pay respects to our visitors from near and far, and a shout out to our General Manager from TAFE Queensland Skills Tech, who is here joining us tonight as a visitor. On behalf of TAFE Queensland, I would like to thank the organisers for coordinating tonight's event. We value our connections with local schools, communities and industries, and we are dedicated to working together to continue to unite and inspire the next generation. And I have to say that video from the Sunshine Coast Regional Jobs Committee was awesome. I am a local Sunny Coaster. I went to Nambour High. I am a graduate of UniSC, so championing keeping our talent here on the Sunshine Coast. So that was very nice to see. Tonight I want to share with you the incredible work that TAFE Queensland has been doing for over 140 years, including our beautiful TAFE Queensland students who are here tonight serving us and waiting on us hand and foot. So thank you to all the students and the educators that have been serving us tonight. Thank you very much. A little bit of a round of applause. TAFE Queensland's been delivering practical and industry-relevant training to equip students with the skills and experience they need to build lifelong careers. TAFE Queensland is renowned for delivering high-quality, industry-standard training that provides employers with skilled and job-ready workers. We partner with industry and government to ensure that our training meets the current and future employment demands, which we have seen tonight is exponential in our Sunshine Coast regions and neighbouring Moreton Bay region as well. This collaboration ensures that our graduates are not only prepared for today's job market, but are also adaptable to the evolving needs of tomorrow. Our courses are also delivered by industry professionals who have followed their passion, worked in their chosen field, and are now sharing their skills and knowledge and passion with the next generation, which is many of you here tonight. So thank you for your contribution to our communities. I would like to share a short video, if I can get my technical skills ready, of one of our educators and a little bit about his journey.
Hi, my name's Ryan Hunter. I'm an automotive teacher at TAFE Queensland. Before starting with TAFE Queensland, I was a mechanic by trade. I was the manager of a busy automotive workshop, servicing repairs of all makes and models, new to old cars, electrical diagnosis, the whole ball and dice. I was an apprentice. I was then a trade qualified mechanic. I was then a manager of a workshop, and I think the only thing really left for me to do, I felt like I'd reached the top of where I could go, and I thought I can instill all that experience that I'd gained along the way to help the young apprentices and the young students coming through. What I love about teaching, when I see a student that's maybe a little bit nervous or a little bit anxious or a little bit unsure at the start of the course, to see that student then start to thrive in a different environment that's a little bit more suited to them, a bit more hands-on. I think it's really uplifting to see them start to thrive in a new and also a more work-like environment or atmosphere. When I have a school student come into my course, they complete the course and then go on to get an apprenticeship, and I can go to that workplace and see how they're thriving from being that nervous or a little bit unsure at first of what the course was or what's in store for them once they've left school. Some of them just don't know. It's great to see that they've taken the skills that they've learnt here, put it into the workforce, and I can physically see them when I go and visit them, and they're thriving in their day-to-day work. What do I love about the industry, automotive industry? It gives you a real security of work. I've managed to move across the world and I can still get a job. And with that automotive trade, any town, any city or any country, I think you've got that real strong security that you can get a job and provide for friends and family. Keeping in mind that a lot of my students are not from an academic background and they really learn and they excel with hands-on experience. A lot of our work environment is here in the workshop. I try and keep the environment as much like an automotive workplace and not as a classroom as I possibly can. To anybody out there thinking if they should start a course at TAFE Queensland or wanting to study with TAFE Queensland, I would definitely say go for it. TAFE Queensland really prides itself on providing that really safe and secure environment that people thrive when they come here to learn.
So that's one of our awesome teachers, Ryan Hunter, from our Bundaberg campus, and he is an amazing educator and has recently been nominated for the Queensland Training Awards. So he's definitely the expert in advising students, so I'll let him do the main talking. But I would like to provide some additional information about pathways to success here at TAFE Queensland and beyond on the Sunshine Coast. So we offer a wide range of pathways for students at different stages of their educational journey. Our TAFE at Schools program allows high school students to start their career journey while still in school. And I know my colleagues here tonight and that will be at the event tomorrow work with a number of you already with your schools and the TAFE at School program. By completing an entry-level qualification, students gain the foundation skills necessary to work in their chosen industry and can already be earning while learning, which is great. So for those graduating from high school or individuals who are not of school age, we offer Certificate 3s or higher level qualifications. These programs provide the hands-on skills and qualification needed to gain employment in as little as 6 months to 18 months, depending on their chosen field. Our graduates are well prepared to hit the ground running in their careers or use their qualifications as a stepping stone for further studies. As many of you know, TAFE Queensland works closely with employers across the region to ensure we deliver skills they most need, both now and into the future. And through these mutually beneficial relationships, we collaborate on a wide range of projects, events, and opportunities that provide our students with valuable hands-on experience and industry connections. For example, our partnership with Mullaney Birdworld, Wildlife Headquarters and Australia Zoo allows our animal care students to apply their skills in real-world context. And similarly, our cookery students, who some of them are here tonight, have opportunities to meet prominent chefs and visit local farms to learn about the importance of quality produce. As Tracy's already mentioned, the Sunshine Coast is experiencing significant growth, driven by its appealing lifestyle, and as our General Manager from Skills Tech knows, good surf as well. And there is a really high demand for skilled professionals in various industries. TAFE Queensland offers pathways in a broad range of in-demand study areas, including nursing, early childhood education and care, individual support, electrotechnology, cybersecurity, business, beauty, and more. These courses ensure that our graduates are well equipped to meet the needs of various industries and contribute meaningfully to our communities. By focusing on these priority courses, TAFE Queensland is ensuring that students are well prepared to meet the needs of the Sunshine Coast growth industries, and our commitment to providing high quality industry relevant training helps students build successful careers while they're supporting the region's economic development. We're also committed to providing skills for the future by offering training in emerging industries, from manufacturing to food production to cybersecurity. We adapt our courses, facilities and equipment to address the growing needs. For instance, employment opportunities in cybersecurity are anticipated to grow by 14.5% over the next 5 years, which is why our Mooloolaba campus now hosts our Cybersecurity Centre of Excellence, which is actually just on the other side of this building here as well. So I don't want to stand between you and dessert, so I would like to thank you for your attention. I will be here this evening along with a number of my TAFE colleagues, and if you have any questions, we would be very more than happy to talk to you. And thank you very much to all the organisers for inviting us to speak. Thank you very much.